again. The postseason is relentless. Now that the Dodgers have beaten the Padres in the Division Series, they are on to the National League Championship Series, which will be played coast to coast against the New York Mets. Starting today, October 13th, Sunday at Dodger Stadium at 5:15 p.m., very specifically Pacific time. This is a best-of-7 series. First to 4 wins advances to the World Series, facing either the New York Yankees or the Cleveland Guardians, who are playing in the NLCS starting on Monday. The loser, of course, goes home. It's New York versus Los Angeles. Big market, coastal elite, good for baseball. You know you love it.
We love it. We love it.
These two teams have a compelling history. There is some poetic resonance with one of the greatest years in Dodgers history, 1988. Let's dig into that. Let's update the story for this season and these two teams this year. And let's dig in specifically to the matchups we're going to see. That's what's in. I'm Richard Parks III. Thank you for listening to Dodger Blue Dream Daily.
That's what's in.
The Mets and the Dodgers have squared off in the playoffs before, 2015, 2006, but those are not the years we think of when we think Dodgers-Mets. No way. We think of the last time they met in the championship series. I'm talking about 1988. 88 was the year of the mighty Mets, a team that included Doc Gooden, Darryl Strawberry, David Cone, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez, Lenny Dykstra, Mookie Wilson, it goes on. They won 100 games and were heavily favored to beat the Dodgers that year. They'd won the season series over the Dodgers 10 out of 11 games. The Dodgers' improbable defeat of the Mets in the NLCS in 1988 set up one of the greatest Dodgers postseason runs ever. One of the greatest postseason baseball stories ever, period. Dodger or non-Dodger. This was the series of Mike Scioscia's home run, Oral Hershiser's surprise 12th inning save, the series where Kirk Gibson hurt his leg stealing a base, which set up one of the most famous home runs in Dodger and baseball history, struck by a hobbled Gibson, pinch hitting against Dennis Eckersley in the bottom of the 9th in Game 1 of the World Series against the Oakland A's. And yes, the Dodgers went on to win the World Series over the also very heavily favored Oakland A's that year, 1988, the gold standard for a Dodgers season in my lifetime. And ultimately, what is responsible for making me a baseball fan. I was 6 and I didn't follow that season, but I fell so deeply in love with the Dodgers and baseball just after this. The Dodgers have won 7 World Series titles, 1955, 1959, 1963, 1965, 1981, 1988, and 2020. So, 88 was the last year the Dodgers won a title that was followed by a parade in the streets of Los Angeles. For this contemporary 2024 Dodgers team, the parade has become a symbol beyond the World Series trophy. Critics like to challenge the legitimacy of the COVID year World Series title because the season was shortened to 60 games. A World Series title and a parade this year would quiet that narrative once and for all. And to get there, we're going to have to get through the Mets again. And this Mets team is coming in hot. How hot? Well, remember the Padres? That's a baseball team who's currently on vacation in Cancun or maybe spearfishing naked in the Dominican Republic in the case of Fernando Tatis Jr. Anyway, the team that the Dodgers just beat in that dramatic 5-game NLDS, a team that 80% of experts picked to beat the Dodgers. That Padres team was the hottest team in baseball since the All-Star break. This Mets team has been the hottest team in baseball since June. They have the best record in baseball since before the summer solstice. That's hot. And they are currently sailing through the postseason on an epic run. On the last day of the regular season, they clinched a wild card spot in a dramatic doubleheader against the Braves. They beat the Brewers on the road in a dramatic seesaw wild card series, and then they won the NLDS 3-1 over their division rivals, the NL East champions, the Phillies. So this Mets team has been in it, hitting dramatic home runs every other day or so for it feels like weeks. They have excellent starting pitching, the highest paid closer in the game, and a lineup of stars including slugger Pete Alonso and the all-around amazing Francisco Lindor, a player some in New York media are trying to say should be MVP over Shohei Ohtani, which is insane, but still, the point stands, they have a very good team. And also, because their series didn't go as deep as the Dodgers, the Mets are coming into this series very rested. So let's dig in a little bit specifically to the matchups between these two teams in terms of starting pitching, relief pitching, and lineup. Starting pitching-wise, the Mets seem like they're fairly stacked, where we have one full starter plus two halves, it feels like, and a great bullpen. Today, Game 1, the Mets are going with Kodai Senga, another great Japanese pitcher. And coincidentally, like our Japanese starter, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Senga is in the midst of building himself back up. He made one start against the Phillies and only went 2 innings. The Dodgers are starting Jack Flaherty, hometown boy, so we love it. Flaherty started what turned into a very awful Game 2 against the Padres. He went 5 1/3 innings and he allowed 4 runs. For Game 2, the Mets are pitching Sean Manaea, a former Padre who's in the midst of a very good season. The Dodgers are pitching Walker Buehler, a guy with big game experience in the past who's in the midst of trying to come back from his second Tommy John surgery. Buehler gave up 6 runs in Game 3 in San Diego, although he pitched better than what those numbers seem to represent. And also, after giving up those runs, he settled in and started a 24-inning shutout streak for the Dodgers pitching staff that took us through the last of Game 5 on Friday night. Bullpen-wise, our bullpen is looking incredible. They are the reason why we won that series against the Padres. Shout out to all of our guys. Frazier, Kopech, Trinan, Phillips. The bullpen has been our MVP. I think that Dave Roberts said that in an interview. And again, 24 consecutive scoreless innings against the Padres, one of the best lineups in baseball. The Mets, I'm not overly familiar with their bullpen, but they do have Edwin Diaz, the best and highest paid closer in the game, but Diaz has been working hard on this recent Mets run, and he hasn't been perfect. One more bullpen note. Dave Roberts submitted a new roster for the NLCS today, and it does not include Alex Vesia, who left the game on Friday and is injured. Anthony Banda is the only lefty out of our pen now. Lineup-wise, Mets look good. A lot of big home runs in the highlight reels recently. Francisco Lindor is hot, just hit a series-deciding grand slam against the Phillies. Pete Alonso has been heating up too. He's got this decorative gourd, he calls it a rally pumpkin, which he thinks has put him and the Mets on a hot streak. Funny stuff going on with the Mets. And for us, I think it's safe to say that our big guys have to turn it on. We need to see Shohei step up. He's been a little quiet since that first big homer in Game 1 of the NLDS. Mookie's been hot, and Freddie's been banged up, but somehow he's still been getting hits. One last lineup note, Miggy Rowe is not on the LCS roster, and I read that he's out for surgery. Maybe we'll be seeing Kike get starts from here on out. So once again, this is a 7-game series. 2 in LA, 3 in New York, and if needed, 2 more to close it out in LA. So our boys in blue are going to be going to the Big Apple, and we get to watch a little cold October baseball. That's good for aura. I love turtlenecks under jerseys. And hey, Shohei is from a ski town. Maybe a little dip in temp will be good for our best hitter. Maybe if it cools off in LA, I'll be able to wear my vintage starter jacket to Dodger Stadium. But more importantly, the resonance with 1988 has this Dodger fan super pumped up. The postseason is all about conjuring and containing magic. And we got that magic going in our series against the Padres. Our starting pitching staff isn't what it should be, but somehow we found a way to get it done. Shout out to our bullpen. And like we just said, Shohei didn't do much after that first big homer in Game 1, but our lineup just bested one of the best lineups in baseball. And the Mets do have a very solid pitching staff. Maybe the way in is to see a lot of pitches from their starters and get into their bullpen as early as possible. I can't script it out here, otherwise I would, but that would be no fun. I hope you're having a good time watching along with me. I'm Richard Parks III. I'll talk to you again soon.